I stood in the doorway of what used to be my bedroom, staring at the transformation that had occurred in my 3-day absence. The walls, once adorned with my carefully curated collection of concert posters and framed photography, were now bare except for several gaming posters and a large flat-screen TV where my desk had been. My bookshelves, housing novels I'd collected since childhood, had been replaced by a gaming console setup. The twin bed where I'd slept for 20 years was gone, replaced by a queen-size bed with navy bedding. "Mom?" I called out, my voice echoing through the house I'd grown up in. The house where I'd temporarily moved back after college while saving for my own place. The house where I'd been living for the past 4 years while working 60-hour weeks between my day job and freelance gigs. My mother appeared in the hallway, her expression a mixture of guilt and defiance. Behind her stood her new husband, Derek, and his 16-year-old son, Tyler. "Oh, Emma, you're back early. I thought your photography workshop was running through Sunday," she said, nervously tucking her hair behind her ear. "It finished early." I gestured toward the room. "What happened to my room? Where's all my stuff?" Mom glanced at Derek, who stepped forward, placing his hand on Tyler's shoulder. "Emma, we thought it would be better if Tyler had his own space. He's going to be living here full-time now that his mom took that job in Seattle." "And where am I supposed to sleep?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. "We've set up the basement for you," Mom replied quickly. "It's actually quite cozy. We moved all your things down there." The basement. The unfinished, occasionally flooding basement with its concrete floors and exposed pipes. "I see." I maintained a calm demeanor that belied the storm brewing inside me. "And when were you planning to tell me?" "We were going to surprise you when you got back on Sunday," Derek interjected with a forced smile. "Tyler needed to get settled before school starts next week." Tyler, at least, had the decency to look uncomfortable. He mumbled, "I told them we should ask you first." I nodded once, then turned and headed downstairs to examine my new living quarters. The basement had been hastily arranged with my bed, desk, and some of my belongings. Boxes were stacked haphazardly in corners. My clothes hung from a metal rack, many still on the floor in piles. The air was damp and smelled faintly of mildew. What stung most deeply wasn't just the room reassignment, but the implication behind it. After 26 years, I had been demoted in my own childhood home to accommodate someone who had been in our lives for less than a year. I pulled out my phone and texted my best friend, Layla, "Need a place to crash for a few days. Emergency." Her response was immediate, "Doors open. Wine's ready." I packed a bag with essentials, ignoring my mother's pleas to talk as I headed for the door. "Emma, please, it's not what you think. We just needed to make adjustments now that we're a blended family." I paused at the front door. A family that made decisions about my living situation without consulting me. A family that prioritized someone else's comfort over mine without a second thought. I locked eyes with her. "I'll be back for the rest of my things tomorrow." As I drove to Layla's apartment, tears blurred my vision, but something else was forming beneath the hurt, a determination I hadn't felt in years. By the time I arrived at Layla's, I had the beginnings of a plan. "They did what?" Layla exclaimed as I recounted the day's events over generous glasses of wine. "Moved all my stuff to the basement while I was away at a photography workshop that I paid for myself," I explained. "Mom didn't even try to defend me when Derek said Tyler needed the room more than I did." "That's so messed up," Layla shook her head. "So what are you going to do?" I took a deep breath. I've been saving for almost 4 years. I have enough for a down payment on a small place. I think it's time I accelerate those plans. "You're going to buy a house? Just like that?" "I've actually been looking casually for months. There's a small fixer-upper in Oakwood that just had a price reduction. The listing agent said it needs work but has good bones." I pulled up the listing on my phone and showed Layla. "Emma, are you sure? That's a big decision to make when you're upset." "I'm upset, not irrational," I replied. "I make enough between my marketing job and photography side business. And honestly, this may be the push I needed to finally stand on my own." I didn't tell Layla the full extent of my plan that night. I didn't mention how, over the past 4 years, I had lived frugally while my photography business quietly grew, or how I'd been secretly preparing for independence while my mother increasingly centered her life around Derek and his son. Most importantly, I didn't mention the decision forming in my mind, that once I established my new life, my mother would not be welcome in it until she recognized and apologized for her betrayal. That night, as I lay on Layla's pull-out couch, I made 2 calls, one to the listing agent for the Oakwood house, and another to my financial advisor. By morning, I had an appointment to view the property and confirmation that my financials were in order for a mortgage pre-approval. The small voice in my head questioning if I was overreacting was silenced when I checked my phone to find not a single concerned message from my mother, only a text asking if I could please come get the rest of your things from the basement soon because they needed the space for storage. The Oakwood house was more than just a fixer-upper, it was a challenge. The 1940s bungalow had endured decades of neglect, with peeling wallpaper, outdated fixtures, and a kitchen straight out of a mid-century catalog. But beneath the cosmetic disasters were solid hardwood floors, original crown molding, and a floor plan that flowed beautifully from room to room. "It needs work," warned Miranda, the listing agent, as she opened a closet door that promptly fell off its hinges. "I can see that," I replied, already envisioning how I would transform each space. "But it's exactly what I'm looking for." Within a week, my offer was accepted. The house had been on the market for months, and the elderly owner was eager to sell. My years of saving had positioned me perfectly for this moment. I had enough for the down payment and initial renovations, with some emergency funds still intact. When I returned to my mother's house to collect my belongings, she seemed shocked by my announcement. "You bought a house?" she repeated, following me down to the basement. "Emma, don't you think you're being impulsive? Buying property is a huge commitment." "I've been saving for this for years, Mom. I'm 26, not 16. I continued packing my books into boxes. "But you haven't even asked for our advice," she protested, referring to herself and Derek, who was conspicuously absent during my packing. "Why would I?" I asked simply. "You made a major decision about my living situation without consulting me. I'm simply doing the same." Her face fell. "That's not fair. We're family, we had to make accommodations for everyone." "Everyone except me," I pointed out. "And that's fine." It clarified where I stand in your priorities. "Emma, you're being dramatic. It's just a bedroom." I stopped packing and faced her directly. "It wasn't just a bedroom, Mom. It was my space in what I thought was still my home. You gave it away without even a conversation. You're an adult. Tyler is still a teenager. That's not the point, and you know it." I sealed another box. "The point is respect. You didn't respect me enough to include me in a decision that directly affected me." She seemed genuinely confused by my reaction, which only reinforced my decision. "When's your closing date?" she finally asked, changing the subject. 2 weeks from Thursday." "Well, Derek and I would love to see the place once you're settled. Maybe we could help with some of the renovations?" "Derek's quite handy." I chose my next words carefully. "I'd prefer to handle the renovations myself. It's my project, my vision. But we're family, we want to help. I need some space right now, Mom. I'll let you know when I'm ready for visitors." The hurt in her eyes was evident, but so was her lack of understanding about why I felt betrayed. She didn't apologize or acknowledge her actions, she simply expected our relationship to continue as before, on her terms. Closing day arrived faster than anticipated. Standing in my empty new house, keys in hand, I felt a mixture of terror and exhilaration. The magnitude of what I'd undertaken hit me all at once. The renovation work ahead, the mortgage payments, the responsibility of homeownership. But beneath that was a profound sense of pride. This was mine. No one could move my things, reassign my space, or make me feel secondary in my own home again. I started with the bedroom, tearing out musty carpeting to reveal pristine hardwood floors underneath. Each evening after my day job, I worked until midnight, painting, refinishing, replacing light fixtures. On weekends, I tackled larger projects with help from Layla and occasionally her boyfriend, who had construction experience. My photography business provided additional income for renovations. What had started as a side hustle photographing weddings and family portraits had evolved into a respectable business with regular clients. I converted one of the smaller bedrooms into a home office and editing studio, installing professional lighting and backdrops for indoor sessions. 3 months into my renovation journey, my mother's texts and calls became more insistent. "We haven't seen you in weeks," she complained. "When can we come see your house?" "I'm still working on it," I replied each time. "It's not ready for visitors." The truth was, the house was becoming quite livable. The kitchen renovation was partially complete, with new countertops and refaced cabinets. The living room and my bedroom were finished, stylishly furnished with a mix of vintage and modern pieces I'd collected over time. My reluctance to invite my mother wasn't about the state of the house, it was about establishing boundaries. For years, I had accommodated her changing priorities without complaint. I'd been understanding when she remarried, supportive when Derek and Tyler moved in, and silent when family traditions were altered to accommodate her new husband's preferences. The bedroom incident had simply been the final demonstration of how little she considered my feelings. One Saturday afternoon, while I was in the middle of installing new bathroom tile, the doorbell rang. When I opened the front door, I found my mother, Derek, and Tyler standing on my porch, bearing housewarming gifts. "Surprise!" Mom exclaimed, her smile faltering as she took in my dust-covered appearance and stunned expression. "We thought we'd finally come see your new place." I didn't invite them in. Instead, I stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind me. "Mom, I told you I'd let you know when I was ready for visitors. But it's been 3 months, Emma. This is ridiculous. We're your family. A family that made me feel unwelcome in my childhood home," I said quietly. "I need you to respect my boundaries now." Derek stepped forward. "Emma, your mother has been worried sick about you. This silent treatment has gone on long enough." "This isn't silent treatment," I replied evenly. "This is me creating healthy distance until I'm ready to rebuild our relationship." "By shutting us out," my mother cried. "How is that healthy?" "The same way you thought displacing me without discussion was appropriate," I answered. "I'm doing what's best for me right now." Tyler, who had remained silent, finally spoke. "I told them we should have asked you first," he said, echoing his words from that day. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry about what happened." I nodded at him with appreciation for his maturity. "Thank you, Tyler." "This is absurd," Derek declared. "You're punishing your mother over a bedroom." "No," I corrected him. "I'm establishing independence from people who showed me where I ranked in their consideration. Please respect that I'm not ready to have visitors yet, especially ones who arrive unannounced." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "So that's it? You're just cutting us off?" "Not permanently, Mom. But I need time and space. And most importantly, I need you to understand why I feel hurt before we can move forward." As they reluctantly retreated to their car, I felt no satisfaction, only a sad conviction that this boundary was necessary for my own emotional well-being. Winter gave way to spring, and my house transformation continued. The once dilapidated bungalow was now nearly unrecognizable, bright, welcoming, and distinctly mine in every detail. My photography business had grown enough that I was considering reducing my hours at my marketing job to focus more on creative work. Communication with my mother remained minimal and strained. She had sent several messages ranging from guilt-inducing, "How could you shut out your own mother?" to anger, "After everything I've done for you," to sad resignation, "I guess our relationship means nothing to you now." None acknowledged her part in our rift. Layla, who had become my renovation partner and confidant, urged reconciliation. "You've made your point, Emma. Maybe it's time to invite her over, show her what you've accomplished." "It's not about showing off what I've done," I explained as we planted flowers in my newly landscaped front yard. "It's about her recognizing that relationships require mutual respect." "And you think shutting her out is going to teach her that?" I sighed, digging the trowel deeper into the soil. "I'm not trying to teach her anything. I'm protecting myself while I build my own life." The catalyst for change came unexpectedly. One evening in late April, as I was finishing a photo shoot with a family in my backyard studio, my doorbell rang. Opening it, I found Tyler standing alone on my porch, looking uncomfortable. "Tyler? Is everything okay? Can I talk to you?" he asked hesitantly. "It's important." I invited him in, curious and concerned. He seemed impressed by the house but distracted. "Your mom doesn't know I'm here," he admitted, perching awkwardly on my living room sofa. "But I thought you should know, she and my dad have been fighting. A lot. About you, about how they handled things." This surprised me. "Fighting how?" "Dad thinks she should just get over it and that you're being unreasonable." "But your mom," he paused. "She's been defending you. She told him that she regrets how everything happened, that she should have talked to you first." I processed this information silently. "She misses you," Tyler continued. "She looks at your childhood photos when she thinks no one's watching. And she kept your old bedroom furniture in storage, not the basement. She wouldn't let Dad sell it." "Why are you telling me this?" Tyler shrugged. "Because families are complicated. Trust me, I know. My mom basically abandoned me with my dad to pursue her career. Your mom has been more of a mother to me in 1 year than mine was in 16. He met my gaze directly. "What they did with your room was wrong. But I think your mom genuinely regrets it." After Tyler left, I sat in my completed kitchen, thinking about families, forgiveness, and the walls we build, both physical and emotional. I had created my sanctuary, proven my independence, and established firm boundaries. Perhaps now I could extend an olive branch from a position of strength rather than hurt. The next day, I composed a carefully worded email to my mother, including photographs of my renovated house and an invitation for her, just her, to visit that weekend for lunch. Her response came within minutes, yes. Thank you. What can I bring? Saturday arrived with perfect spring weather. I had prepared a simple lunch and set the table on my new back deck, surrounded by containers of herbs and flowers I'd planted. When the doorbell rang, I took a deep breath before answering. My mother stood there, looking smaller somehow, clutching a small gift bag. Your house is beautiful from the outside, she said tentatively. Thank you, I replied, stepping aside to let her in. I'd like to show you what I've done with it. As I guided her through each room, explaining the work and choices I'd made, her eyes filled with tears. Emma, this is incredible. You've created something remarkable here. In the kitchen, she paused by my gallery wall, where I'd hung a collection of my best photographs, including several of her and me from happier times. I've missed you, she said quietly. I've missed you too, I admitted. Over lunch, the conversation initially stayed safe, my work, her garden, neighborhood news. Finally, as we finished eating, she placed her napkin down and took a deep breath. I owe you an apology, she began. A real one, not an excuse. What we did with your room was thoughtless and hurtful. We should have discussed it with you first and found a solution that respected everyone's needs. Why didn't you? I asked, the question that had haunted me for months. She was quiet for a moment. I think I got caught up in making my new marriage work. I was so focused on making Derek and Tyler feel welcome that I took you for granted. I assumed you'd understand because you were older, more established. She shook her head. It was wrong. In trying to build one relationship, I damaged another that was far more precious to me. The validation of hearing her acknowledge exactly what had hurt me loosened something tight in my chest. Thank you for saying that. This house, she gestured around, is extraordinary. But what's more extraordinary is you, your determination, your vision, your strength. I'm sorry I didn't see that clearly before. I needed to see it clearly myself, I replied. That's part of why I needed this space. She nodded, then reached for the gift bag she'd brought. I have something for you. Inside was a small wooden box I recognized immediately, my grandmother's jewelry box that had always sat on my childhood dresser. I saved it when we moved your things. I thought you might want it for your new home. I ran my fingers over the familiar carved surface. Thank you. There's something else, she added, reaching into her purse. She withdrew an envelope and handed it to me. Inside was a check, a substantial one. Mom, I don't need money. It's not charity, she assured me. It's your inheritance from your grandmother's estate. I was going to use it to help you with a down payment someday, but you didn't need my help after all. It's rightfully yours. As the afternoon progressed, we established new parameters for our relationship, one based on mutual respect rather than obligation. She would call before visiting. I would make an effort to join family occasions when I could. Most importantly, we would communicate honestly about expectations and boundaries. When she left, she hugged me tightly. I'm so proud of the woman you've become, Emma. Even when that woman showed me where I went wrong. I learned how to stand up for myself from you, Mom, I replied. You raised me to be strong, you just forgot that included being strong with you too. 6 months later, my house was featured in a local home magazine, showcasing the before and after transformation. My mother attended the photo shoot, beaming with pride as she told the interviewer how her daughter had single-handedly renovated a neglected property into one of the neighborhood's gems. That evening, as we shared wine on my deck, she mentioned that Derek and Tyler had moved out 3 weeks earlier. It wasn't working, she explained simply. We wanted different things. I considered her words carefully before responding. Are you okay? She smiled, a genuine, peaceful smile I hadn't seen in years. I'm finding my way back to myself. Just like you did. It takes time, I said, thinking of my own journey. And boundaries, she added, acknowledging how far we'd come. My house had become more than just a dwelling or a renovation project. It was physical proof of my resilience, a manifestation of my independence, and eventually, the setting for healing a relationship I had feared might be permanently damaged. The walls I had painted, the floors I had restored, the garden I had planted, all stood as testament to what could be rebuilt with determination, time, and the courage to demand respect. Sometimes, the most important renovations aren't the ones you can photograph for magazines. They're the ones that reshape relationships, rebuild trust, and restore connections on new, stronger foundations.